All right, folks, so we are on day 4 here. Okay, I would like for you to please take a look at Zachary and Samantha's work and decide who's right. I don't need you to do any math. I just need you to look at what they have done and tell me who's right. What do you think, James? He thinks Samantha is right. Can you tell me why you are correct? Okay, so she got her side equal to 0, correct? He did not. So he is incorrect. Can anybody tell me why we want to get this equal to 0 in the first place? Do you remember? What's that? Yes. So how come I just didn't divide by 6 to isolate the x? Why can't I do that? Because it's squared. Do you see how it's a variable and it's square? That phrase should ring a bell to you. Okay, I've told you that if you have a variable and it's square, you have to set it equal to 0 and factor. If you have something like this, do I need to move this 15 over and set it equal to 0? No, because it's just a regular old variable. All you'd have to do is add the 1 divided by 6. Are we good with that? Do you understand the difference? Okay. Another connection I want you to make here, folks. This thing is being squared, right? How many answers did we get? 2. What if it was to the third power? How many answers do you think I would get? 3. Okay, the number of answers coincides with the highest power. So like that, I shouldn't erase this. This question I just had up here. What's the highest power? There's like a little 1 right there, isn't there? So how many answers should I expect? 1. Any questions, folks? No? Did you tell me who was right and tell me why? Did you actually tell me why, or are you just saying you did? Okay. Can you please write me a sentence that tells me why? Doesn't have to be a long sentence. Just write me a sentence that starts with a capital letter and ends with a period, please. And when you are finished with that, we are going to, for the last time this week, fill in these 3 statements. What is always the first thing that you look for? GCF. Some of you still forget to look for a GCF. We're going to throw some in there today that do have a GCF. Okay. What if there are 4 terms? And what if there are 3 terms? When we have 3 terms and when we make 2 binomials, there's a long way and there's a short way. How do you know when to do the short way? What with the 1? Where is the 1? At the beginning. It starts with a 1. When it starts with a 1, you're going to do it the short way. And I do have some of those thrown in here today. Okay. What about the long way? How do I know when it's a long way? Doesn't start with a 1, right? Okay. And you guys have all been practicing that long way. You have to make me a 4-term problem when we're doing it the long way. Okay. Take a look down here at your problems. And you can just look at the front there. That's fine. Are these things expressions or equations? They are equations, which means I have to solve them. And if you look at the bottom there, the first 3 of them are all equal to 0. So you should see, I shouldn't say you should see because we haven't factored it yet, but how do I multiply 2 things together to equal 0? One of them has to be 0. You have to multiply by 0. I don't think I've told you guys this. Actually, I know now that I'm saying that, I know I haven't told you guys this. But when we solve these things, let's say your answers are 4 and 7. Those are the answers that you get when you're done. They're the answers, but another thing that people call them in math books are the zeros. If they say find the zeros, it should make sense that you're going to set them equal to 0 and solve, which is what we do, right? Okay. The zero product property has 3 steps. What's the first one? They're in your notes. Set what? Set it equal to 0. And again, sometimes that's done for you, right? Step number 2, then you're going to factor it. And step number 3, solve them. Set it equal to 0, then factor it, then solve it. All right. Should we start with a nice, easy one? Yeah. Let's refresh our memory on how to do the short way. In number 1, is it already set equal to 0? It is. Is it factored yet? Not yet, because I don't see the parentheses. Okay, how many terms do you see up there? So what do I need to make? 2 binomials. Will this be the short way or the long way? Short way, because the first coefficient is a 1 in front of that x squared. So I do not need to make a 4-term problem, folks. What am I going to start by putting in my parentheses? Okay, you need factors of 14 that add to 9. What'd you say? 7 times 2. If we are adding, does that mean same or different? And they both need to be okay. So we've set it equal to 0. We've factored. Now we got to solve it. What am I solving? How? X equals what, Peyton? Okay. How about over here? All right. So did you forget about the short way, or are we still good with that? We're still good with that? Okay. Let's do another one the short way. Number 2. Is it set equal to 0? Is it set equal to 0? Yes, it is. Does it have a GCF? What is a GCF? So if we take out the 2 goes in front of the parentheses. What's left? How are we doing, folks? I bet you thought that this was going to be the long way at first, right? Do not forget to take out a GCF. Okay, so how many terms do I have here? So we're going to make 2 binomials. Please remember, when you do that, you still need to drop down your 2. Long way or short way? Short way, because this starts with a 1 in front of the n squared. So do I need to make a 4-term problem? No. What am I going to start my parentheses with? Okay. You need factors of 15 that add to 8. 5 times 3. Sorry, these headphones make me not be able to hear. We're all good here? If I'm adding, does that mean same or different? And they need to be... Okay, so I'm done. No, I actually have to find the zeros. Okay, so folks, I don't know if you remember when we did this before. I actually have 3 factors up there. The 2 is a factor, the n minus 5 is a factor, and the n minus 3 is a factor. So all 3 of them need to be set equal to 0. But does 2 equal 0? So that is not going to give me an answer. What will the middle equation give me? That'll give me a 5. How about this one? Okay. Folks, what was the highest power up there in my equation? A 2, right? Which means I should get 2 answers, which I do. Okay, grab your calculators because we're going to check one of these. Just because I want to make sure you remember what you're doing here. Do you want to check 5 or 3? 5. Okay, so in your calculator, we're going to take that 5 and we're going to plug it in. And you're going to put it where the ends are. You're going to put it where the ends are. No, you don't need to write it. You did get 0? Everybody getting 0 here? Any issues with getting 0? So we at least have one of them for sure correct. The other one is correct as well, but we're not going to go ahead and check that. Still good? Let's do another one the short way. Is it set equal to 0? Yes. Is it factored? Not yet. First step is a GCF. Is there a GCF? Do you guys see how it starts with a negative? I don't want that negative there, so I'm going to divide it out. So the -1 goes in front of the parentheses. What would be left if you divide out a -1? Everybody got a -40 on the end there, right? Okay. How many terms? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make our 2 binomials, and we are going to drop down the -1. Long way or short way? Short way because there's a 1 in front of that r squared. So I'm going to start by putting what in my parentheses? R's that do what? Subtract to 3. Factors of 40. 8 times 5. If we are subtracting the 40, that means same or different. And the bigger one has to be positive. Okay, so I'm ready to make up my equations. This first one is not going to give me an answer. Not only is it false, there's not a variable with it to even get an answer for. What will you get for the first factor here? Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to check one of these as well. Which one are we going to check? Okay, if we plug in -8, it needs to go in what, folks? Parentheses. Now, folks, do you see how that R has a negative sign in front of it? So when you type it in, that negative symbol needs to go on the outside. So it needs to look like that when you type it in your calculator. So go ahead and do so, please. James says we're getting 0 there. We okay with that? Okay. Any issues on the front for me, folks? No? All right, let's flip it over to the back. Number 4. We're actually going in order today. That's not like me, is it? It's all right. We'll go in order. Now we're going to go in order. Is it set equal to 0? Is it factored? I don't see parentheses up there that means factoring, do you? Okay, so do you have a GCF? What is your GCF? What am I going to divide by? Higher. 10x. So I'm going to put that 10x out front. What's left? Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how many terms do you have in there? 2. Have I given you a way to factor 2 terms yet? No, you have a way for 3 terms and you have a way for 4 terms, but you don't have a way for 2 terms, do you? We're done factoring. We just need to go ahead and solve it. Next week, I'll show you how to factor 2 terms. Okay, so if I'm going to go ahead and solve this, how's that? Now, I hope you're not putting an x through this one, because I can actually solve this first one by doing what? By doing what? Divide by what? 10. That 10 is being multiplied, right? So we're going to divide by it. What do you get? 0. And what's the answer for the second factor? Okay. How is that, folks? There's a reason I put one like this in here, because I bet you some of you wanted to just go like that. There's a variable in it, right? So you got to solve for it. So let's do the next one then. Is the next one set equal to 0? No. How are you going to get it set equal to 0? Okay. Can you put the 15a and the 60a together? One is squared and one is not. So I can't. And I do want to put the squared term first. Yes. How we doing? You guys got them in that order? What's the first thing you're going to ask yourself? Is there a GCF? What is it? Perfect. 15. I got a lot of people that tell me 5 on that. And we're... Okay. Ooh, don't be sorry. I like it. So what's left? Does everybody see how the a squared and the a come down to just an a? James, you doing okay back there? You guys doing all right over here? All right. We're ready to set up our two factors because, folks, how many terms are left inside of here? 2, and you don't know how to do anything with that yet, right? Okay. And really, more so, there's not even anything squared left in there, is there? I can't factor anything if there's no squareds left in there. Okay, go ahead. What do you think, folks? Started off nice and easy on those first 5 problems, right? Guess what? It's going to get even easier. And number 6. It's already factored, and it's already set equal to 0. All good things for us, right? So what are you going to do? Oh, what are you going to write down to solve? And? Okay, go ahead and solve. Go for it. I know you're so sad that that one took such short amount of time. I still got 6 more left. No. That one got easier. How'd you do? A-okay? All right. So unfortunately, the next 6 are all the long way. Okay. I would like to do 3 of them. Okay. So I'm going to pick one that's already, or you're going to pick one, actually, that's already equal to 0. Does anybody have a preference? Nine. William actually raised his hand, so I'm going to go with William here. Let's do number 9. Good news, it's equal to 0. Bad news, it's not factored. More bad news, there's no GCF, which means the worst news, I have to do it the long way. Okay. What do I need factors of? That add to 10. 6 times 4. Same symbols or different symbols, and they both need to be okay. Now I need somebody to give me that 4-term problem. Got it. Wonderful. What can you take out of the first group? Good. So the 2q goes out front. What's left? Oh, do I need a q on that? Okay. Now that starts with a minus sign, so I'm going to start with the minus sign. What can I take out of those? Not really anything. So what am I going to use? A 1. So I'm going to divide all of these by -1. What's left? Okay. So my two factors are... Now remember, it doesn't matter the order in which those go. Okay, you guys go ahead and solve. You should be able to do that just fine. Good to go? Yeah? We sure? Any issues at all? Yeah? Surprisingly? Okay. I would now like to do one that is not equal to 0. Number 8. How about we'll do 8 first, then we'll do 11, and we'll call it a day. You were going to raise your hand. So, how do I get number 8 ready to go? It is a positive 2, so we are going to subtract the 2. And we're going to write this in standard form. Is there a GCF? How many terms? Long way or short way? Factors of that do what? Subtract to 1. Factors of 30 that subtract to 1. 5 and 6. If we are subtracting, does that mean same or different? Different, and the bigger one needs to be? The bigger one needs to be negative. Do we have a 4-term problem here? Can you give it to me? I feel like that's your specialty, Greg. Group them up. You're probably cursing me for not giving enough room right now. What can you take out of the first group? I don't think I can take out a 5. 3n. What's left? Starting with a plus because the next parenthesis starts with a plus. What can I take out of those? A 1. Which, folks, if I take out a 1, it doesn't change it at all. So what are my two factors? So we're done. No, we're not done. Because now you're going to find your answers. Go ahead. Did we get them right? We are going to check one of them. Which would you prefer to check? 2/5. Are you ready? Grab your calculator. We're going to have a lot of typing to do on this because we got a fraction. Ready, Freddies? Okay, you're going to put in your 15. Then 2/5 squared minus 2/5. And when you press equals, do you get what you're supposed to? Let me ask you this. What are you supposed to get? What's the original problem say? It's supposed to equal 2. Does it equal 2? Yeah. Okay, good. Number 12. You know what? Let's do 12. Let's do 12. We might as well just talk about 11 real quick, though. Those two things would have to be moved over here, right? You would add that and subtract that? Okay. That one or D is set equal to 0. Is there a GCF? X. Do you see how they all have an X? Okay. You can take a 3 out of that one if that's what you're talking about. Yep. If you take out an X, it looks like this. How many terms do you have in there? 3, which means I know I need to make 2 binomials. Is this going to be the long way or the short way? It is going to be the long way. You need factors of 12 that do what? That subtract to 4. 6 times 2. If we are subtracting, does that mean the same or different? And the bigger one has to be. Good. Somebody make me a 4-term problem where the negative factor comes first. Good. What can we take out of the first group? What's left? Okay, plus. What can I take out of the second group? What's left? Minus. Okay, so what are my 2 factors? Now, folks, I'm going to remind you not to forget about something. What am I going to remind you not to forget about? Not to solve it. I think you're going to remember that, but you're going to forget about something else. And I can tell you already did forget about it. We have to put that X on the outside. We took it out, didn't we? Okay. So we are now ready to solve. And I hope you're not going to try and cross out that first one. It's already isolated, isn't it, folks? 0 is an answer. The middle answer would be what? And how about the last answer? Positive 1/2. Now, folks, how many answers is that? What's the highest power? 3. See how that works? Okay. If you would have done this, we'd only get 2 answers. And we should get, I wouldn't fail you. Okay, that is your homework. Okay, so guys, I want to tell you where we're going next week. Next week, you're going to learn how to factor when there's only 2 terms. So you know when there's 4 terms we group, when there's 3 terms we do 2 binomials. Now I'm going to tell you what we're going to do when we do 2 terms. So that is your homework.